I think it was undeniable only because it was such a clear concept, right? Like it's Mr. and Mrs. Smith all in one, but then it's a family and not just a couple, right? Not just the two sexy people kind of bantering back and forth. You got that too in Carrie and Omar, but it's also about that family unit and protecting this child. And that's so relatable for anybody, parent or not. And so I think people just were drawn to that, immediately. It's a Joe Carnahan special. He brought all the Joe Carnahan sauce, right? So it's like it's all the huge set pieces, blowing stuff up, all of that good stuff. That's what he does, right? So that was the main thing that he brought was just finding ways to still keep the heart of what we were trying to protect, with the core of the story being black love and a black family on the run, right? But not because they did anything wrong, because actually they did everything right, right? Like that's the core of the story, and he always made sure he protected that. The existence of our movie is radical because there is no other version of a black family at the center of an action movie, right? And so action franchise. So Joe was like, how do I also make sure that this still feels like an action franchise that rivals any other, blockbuster? So that's kind of the balance that he brought for us. What was most important in trying to find a location for the movie was a place that would not require us to cheap out on scope. Because as a action franchise that centers a black family, it was super important to make sure that it's first and foremost an action franchise and rivals the Bonds, the Wicks, the John Wick, all those movies that have giant scope and great storytelling, but giant scope, right? And so we wanted to make sure that all of our locations, as you'll see in the film, all of our locations are grandiose intentionally. Mark obviously is like craft actor, classically trained, et cetera. But what he brought to it, I always tell him, I was like, you got a little street in you, because he has a little edge that I don't think people are gonna expect, and he just transforms into this man who is really complicated. He's not a one note villain at all. We actually understand Mark as Cinder, right? I think it's because he brought so much empathy to that character. But Mark also brought a really interesting take to the character where he said, I think Cinder, in addition to all this beautiful stuff that's written that you did, Joe, that's great. But I want to figure out how to make him a little funny. Like, what if Cinder has a little bit of, like, he's not all that sharp, right? Like he hired all these really sharp people, but he's not too sharp. And sometimes he kind of, forgets where his keys are, forgets what he's saying. He forgets all these little like nuances, and it's hilarious. I think people are actually gonna really enjoy watching Mark. Our cast looks like the world, and that's intentional. That was not a paint by the numbers. Let's go, try to get each corner. It genuinely happened super organically. Auntie and Unc, first and foremost, were always intended to be sort of like a humorous banter that is a foil to Isaac and Kyra. But when Devon and Cliff came together for that duo, it just opened it up. I think Cliff, he's just naturally funny. And I think over the last few years, people have gotten so used to him being so serious in shows like Power, another Lionsgate project, et cetera, that they forgot that he's also really funny, and charismatic. And so he brought that. Devon, of course, brought all the humor, brought all of the also intensity too. There's moments when you're not sure if she's playing or if she's really about to snap somebody's neck. And it's amazing, right? Carrie is obviously a great producer, but Carrie is also a phenomenal actress, right? And so she brings all these layers that, that it required the character of Kyra required, right? To be a assassin first, to be an assassin first, mom second, is counterintuitive to what we all normally believe as a parent, right? You parent first and whatever else is second. She had to flip that psyche. That's difficult, but it also meant that we had to flip our psyche around what that meant for certain scenes. The best action movies are really small, personal, human dramas masquerading as a big budget, explosion driven action movie, right? The ones you got to have both, right? And so it's certainly a balance to figure out how to thread both. together. But I give a lot of credit to Joe because we knew how to do the heart. We had that down pat. You got a craft actor in Kerry Washington. You got a craft actor in Omar Sy leading this charge. They're going to bring the heart. You don't have to worry about the drama. They're going to make that happen. Jaleel, super additive in that. We needed Joe to help us figure out how to balance that with the scope and the sort of grandiose nature of what an action franchise is. And I think he totally nailed it.